You think you know what we're going to talk about.
But unfortunately, I fell down a damn rabbit hole and I've not gotten out yet.
Knife bros.
I literally Googled Sebastian Stan hands.
But just when you least expect it, we changed the game.
Well, yeah, because like usually in astrology, they would partner up air signs with fire signs.
All right, you can huggle.
Time travel stories, and
At the end of the day, only one thing matters. We decide.
Well, we should make it a topic. Unfortunately, I didn't take German in school. I took Spanish and I don't remember any of it.
Three Fates Decide podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Three Fates Decide. My name is Sam and I am here with my co-host Liz. Say hello.
hi.
And unfortunately, our other co-host Mary is a bit under the weather, so she will not be joining us for this discussion. For our TED Talk tonight, or today, whenever you decide to listen to us, we're going to be talking about like nutrition and diets and fitness all in one. A little, bodily health TED Talk today.
Yep.
As I know I mentioned definitely in like the New Year's episode, I had started a year challenge with my trainer, and in terms of fitness, where I actually just hit my 90-day mark yesterday, and have lost a couple of inches and things like that. And one of the things that I'm still struggling with is the nutrition aspect. And I was just telling Liz before we signed on here, is that I've always been one or the other. So any time during my life when I was on a diet, I was full blown, like, all about the nutrition. I never liked working out. Now I've gotten to the point where I actually enjoy working out and I'm struggling with the nutrition. So that counterbalance is a struggle, but I think I'm starting to get things I need to kind of, you know, not necessarily remove completely, but cut, and see what happens from there. And Liz, I know you like me have done a couple of things throughout your life, and I don't know what struggles you've dealt with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I have similar struggles to you as well. I mean, I'm not naturally an athletic person. You just don't feel like doing a lot of exercising, a lot of the time, just because like maybe your life really is honestly busy, and it's like the last thing you feel like dealing with is like going to the gym or trying to run 2 miles or whatever it is, when you can't run 1 mile because your your
Out of
energy
breath.
sucks and you can't breathe. Oh no, it's like flashbacks of gym class again.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that was a mess. I don't know about your gym classes in school, but like I had to do like the 1 mile run, and it's like you're supposed to be able to run it within like, I don't know, like 10 minutes or something like that, a whole mile, but like I'm always like those kids that end up taking like 20 minutes or half an hour because I'm like I can only sprint like the first like, maybe 100 meters or whatever, but then like I'm like dying.
yeah. Yeah. No, I hate cardio, so I'm with you. I'm not a runner by any means, and that's something my trainer and I need to come to an understanding, because he keeps talking about how, like, once it gets warm out, we're gonna run, and I'm like, yeah, you're running by yourself because I'm not doing it. Like, I hate running. I hate it.
Yeah, I don't even know how my brother got started on that because he's a runner. I mean, he's ran the New York City Marathon a couple times already.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give people credit for like doing that. Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Nope, nope.
that's not me. That's never gonna be me.
Oh God. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, like I was like you though. Like, I hated going to, like, I was one of those people that I was like, I'm gonna start going to the gym, and I would buy that gym membership, and then I would waste so much money because I wouldn't go, and it would take me like a year to like cancel it. And like it's not easy to cancel a gym membership. Like gyms do not understand.
Yeah.
That like what was it? An episode on Friends, like trying to quit the gym and like how difficult it's true. I mean, not as dramatically as they did it, but like they do like, the hoops they make you go through, some gyms, not all of them, but some gyms make you go through in order to quit is like
Right.
ridiculous. It's like, how dare you quit the gym and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, what if I'm moving out of the state and your gym isn't where I'm moving to? Like, whatever. But
Right.
yeah. So, I figured we would start with stuff that I'm kind of struggling with now, which is definitely more of the nutrition side. Um, so I'm gonna go through a couple of facts that I found online as well as things that like I've been told, you know, going through life and talking to different people and obviously dealing with the various different diets that I've done. So basically, number one, added sugar is a disaster. If something has added sugar in it, it is processed foods. It is so unhealthy for you. Do not like try to avoid at all costs. Sugar is not your friend. And
Yeah.
I mean, natural sugar, like you have like, fruits that have like that natural sweetness and whatever, that's one thing. But like, those empty, like, ugh, I hate processed foods. Like trying so hard not to eat them because I know about, the amount of sugar that they add in and like there's, it's so try and stay away from like processed foods and anything that has that added sugar into it
Oh
because
God, yeah.
you're basically you have a basically the added sugar can cause obviously obesity, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. None of those, which is fun.
No, it's not. No, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's true because like I struggle with that, and I'm also actually genuinely concerned about like the issue with the diabetes because my family, both sides of my family actually do have a history of type 2 because not that I'm gonna make this a long story, but apparently East Asian people have a higher are like one of those groups of people who are higher risk actually of ending up with type 2 diabetes. I mean, there's some theories as to why that is, but, I'm not gonna get into it right now or anything, but based off of, like, my many extended family members, yeah, it's true. I mean, it got like, for a lot of us, the type 2 diabetes actually got noticeable when we left Hong Kong, basically, and we're eating like an American diet. It was really
Mhm.
bad. Um, one of my uncles actually, I think he stopped taking medication like quite a few years ago, actually, because he started changing his diet and he tried fitting in more exercise. Like he'll
Mhm.
walk a lot more, and he actually lost weight, and he basically stopped taking the diabetes medication because he didn't need it anymore because his blood sugar levels got, stabilized and went back to, like, more of your normal range of up and down.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, I do still have a few members of my family that have had issues with, like, their sugar and if not actual type 2 diabetes, so, yeah.
Yeah, like they're like hyperglycemic or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a side note, like it's been it I really should see my primary care doctor again. I've seen my OBGYN, but I haven't seen my my internist yet, in quite a while. But last time I saw her, I had to do, the blood test for, your normal checkup. And she's in the test, like my sugar level was okay, but then there's the other test where it's like I guess it's like a 3-month average or something like that, sugar level
Mhm.
or whatever, and that was actually kinda somewhat elevated because I guess, like, the previous couple of months or so, my diet was a bit carby, and she warned me that it does potentially put me in, like, a pre-diabetic status, which, like, made me very worried, and now I'm worried about that.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I hate, like, when you have like, they tell you, like, "Oh, you're, like, inching closer," and it's like, "No." No.
I know.
So, big important thing we'll get into, in a bit, but I'll just say this, there's no perfect diet for everyone, because everyone's body is different, reacts to certain foods differently, things like that. Some people thrive on one type of diet and don't do well on another type. So, like me, I've tried several different kinds. Some I did very, very well, some I didn't do well at all. So, definitely, want to experiment, try some out, see what works for you, and, kind of go from there. Don't just follow, someone else, like see what works for you. That's that's a big, big thing.
Yes, it is.
Artificial trans fats are very, very, very unhealthy. And if you want to know what that is, it's basically when vegetable oils are high I can't say this word.
Hydrogenized?
Thank you. I'm like in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna butcher this word, but yes. And it can actually cause like several chronic diseases if you have too much of it, like over time. Again, just like abdominal obesity, inflammation, heart disease. I've heard cancer too. It's, so not to scare anybody, but it's not good for you. So you want to, pay attention to what's on the labels.
Yep.
Eating vegetables will improve your health. I think everyone knows this.
Well, yes. They do, and yet, a lot of people in the US, at least, do not eat enough vegetables. I mean, some of us do, but
Yeah.
many do not.
I was I mean, I like vegetables, don't get me wrong. I didn't eat enough, but you have to kind of find a way to make them, especially if like you're not a huge vegetable eater, make them bearable. I have found my favorite way to eat vegetables, and it doesn't really matter what kind of vegetable it is. I love to roast them. Some oil, and oh my god, they are so good with a little bit of like salt and pepper, not too much salt, but a little bit of
Right.
salt and pepper. Oh my god, it is so good.
Yeah.
They taste so much better when they're roasted.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, there's olive oil is always good.
Mhm.
Canola oil. A lot of those, like, nut oils are generally good unless you got allergies to them.
Right.
Um, Sesame is actually very nice.
Mm.
Yeah. Like, especially, like, if you're somebody who has eaten a lot of Korean food, you would have noticed that in Korean cuisine, they use a lot of sesame oil in their dishes. So it has, like, that nutty fragrance to it.
Mm.
But yeah, any of those, like, would probably be very good for your roasting and, well, frying. Although frying is generally not good, but, if you had to do some frying from your own, like, home cooking or whatever, like, at least try to use, like, vegetable oil or something, so it's like you're not using, like, trans fats or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Carbohydrates. There's actually some that aren't that bad for you and some that are very bad for you. I think people hear carbohydrates and automatically it's like, "Oh, that's, they're bad for you, blah, blah, blah." Your body actually needs carbohydrates, not a huge amount, but you wanna have enough carbohydrates, especially when you're trying to burn fat because your body needs to eat something. And if you don't have enough of fats and carbohydrates, then it starts attacking other things that you don't want it to. But refined carbohydrates, so like your white breads and like your basically white breads are 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 the bad ones. But if you have whole wheat grain, beans, there's certain vegetables and fruits that automatically have carbohydrates in them. Those are called refined carbs, and they use a refined flour, so they're more or healthier for you. Those are the kind of carbs that you want to kind of stick to, not overdo with them, obviously, but try and stay away from like the white flour uh,
Yeah.
things, which is, your pastas and your pizzas and all the good stuff that tastes delicious.
Yeah. I mean, like, related to, like, our, earlier talk about, like, what we struggle with, like, for me, in terms of food, I enjoy carbs. I mean, I like to joke about how it's because I'm Chinese that I have to eat rice, but it's only sort of a joke. It's not completely a joke.
Well, that's like me. I'm Italian. I should eat pasta and
Yeah,
pizza.
I mean, it's also pretty bad because, like, I do actually enjoy eating noodles a lot, actually. It's
Love them.
like if yeah, I mean, like, soup noodles,
Hmm.
ramen, that's
Hmm.
that sort of thing, like soba, udon, you know, and it's not even just soup noodles either, it's like, the pan-fried stuff like, lo mein or chow mein or whatever, like,
Yep.
that stuff. I enjoy that stuff too, but, as we'll discuss a little bit later, like, what we are currently doing and have been trying is that, I've learned how to control that a little bit better. That I don't have to give those things up, but I have to be more conscious of, like, what I'm eating exactly is the
Hmm.
key thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So the term diet, a lot of nutritionists and stuff don't like to use that term because diets technically don't work. It's really a whole lifestyle change because if you do a quote unquote diet, and this happens to a lot of people, it's called yo-yo dieting, where you lose the weight and then you're like, oh, yay, I can go back to my normal eating habits that you were doing prior, and you gain all the weight back. So
Yep.
when you want to lose weight, you really need to commit to that lifestyle change because even after you lose the weight, you then have to maintain. So it's a constant adjustment. And it doesn't mean you can't have the things that you want. I am a big believer in if there's something that you really want that you can't get out of your head, you're craving it, whatever, everything in moderation is fine. Is fine. If you know, don't eat sweets all the time, even though you love them, and you're going to a party and they're gonna have, cake or whatever, enjoy. Not go crazy, but enjoy a piece of cake. Like, don't starve yourself of the things that you love because it's actually gonna make it harder for you to maintain because like in my experience, I at one point went so hard on a diet where I didn't allow myself anything, and it was like the moment I let myself have a little something, I fell off that wagon so hard because it was like, "Oh my god, I forgot what this goodness tasted like. Give
Yeah.
it to me." So,
Yeah, I know.
you really need to make it a lifestyle change, but still allow yourself to enjoy the things that you want in moderation. Everything needs to be in moderation.
Yes, indeed.
Unfortunately, I wish I could be one of those people that could eat whatever they wanted and never gain weight. Some people
Yeah,
are
I
just
know.
lucky.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is not like 20 years ago where we were like stupid teenagers who just did whatever we wanted and didn't care.
Mhm. Yep.
We are not those teenagers anymore.
I know. Well, actually, mine was more as like a kid because I was so active that I just burned everything off. So I was so skinny as a kid, and then it was like I hit puberty and I stopped being as active, like I wasn't doing as many sports and stuff, and that was that. That was the end of my
Yeah,
my skinniness.
yeah.
So again, kind of learning how to balance. Working out doesn't mean you can eat whatever you want. Now, depending on how often you work out and how fast you get your metabolism, it doesn't, you know, mean that you have to be on as strict of a diet as like people, or excuse me, as strict of a nutrition plan, I'll say, as people who aren't exercising as often because your metabolism is just going to be like going, going, going. And I just know for me, like right now, I work out 4 days a week. I'm hungry all the time because I'm just working out so much. My body's just burning these fats and, burning everything so quickly that it's like, I can't go too long without eating something. So that's when, you have to make those conscious choices and make sure that you make the correct ones. But if I, you know, and as I mentioned, because I don't eat as well as I should, I indulge a little bit too much. I haven't lost as much as I wanted in the first 90 days. I still am very proud of what I've done, but, you know, I know if I had been a little bit stricter on myself, and I probably would have done better. But at the same time, people also need to understand if you are working out a lot, especially like weightlifting and things like that, you're gonna gain weight. And that's why, like, and we'll go into this when we talk about our diets and stuff, but like Weight Watchers to me drove me nuts because they are so into the mindset of the scale when like scale isn't the only aspect. Like with my challenge, I'm going only based on inches. Yes, I still weigh myself just so that I know, like, I wanna focus more on how many inches I lose as opposed to how much weight I'm losing because at the same time, while I'm burning off the fat, I'm gaining muscle mass. So it's
Right.
like, really you wanna know what your body mass index is, with your BMI. However, just for all of you, I just actually learned this not too long ago. BMIs were based originally, like the person that created the BMI was based off of white males because they were in the best shape. So it really is not correct for everybody because like women, our bodies are different, based on your um ethnicity, you know, certain people carry different, like you can't go based off of just white adult males and say,
Right.
well, that's what it is for everybody, because that's not how it works. So don't be hard on yourself if like you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you're morbidly obese. According to the quote unquote BMI, maybe, but you're going based off of your weight, not how much muscle you have or, how it's technical. It's stupid. That's just
Yeah.
what I have to say about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of tough because it's like, on the one hand, some of these things that we're using or is commonly used, it may or may not really be that accurate, actually. But then on the other hand, for people who are struggling with like whether your ultimate goal is actually weight loss or, just you want to be more fit or whatever it is, you also kind of need like some kind of a target, some kind of metric
Hmm.
to compare yourself to because it's like, how do you know you're really achieving the thing you're achieving if you don't have some kind of a number,
Hmm.
or something. Well, tangible is not really the right word, but like a certain goal you can aim for,
Right.
I mean,
Right.
yeah, so yeah, BMI is not completely accurate, but it is a data point to consider as like one of the things to compare yourself to
Yeah.
in order to see the progress. I mean, it's not perfect, but it is one. Um, you're using inches. For me, since I'm not like doing as much fitness as you are. I mean, inches would be good, but my goal was not extremely aggressive, I guess you could say. So I was fine with like using the scale to kind of be my visual target of like what I'm aiming for, just because it's like the most basic, the most straightforward thing for me
Mhm.
to aim for. And
Yeah, no.
yeah, yeah, and like and I've mentioned to you like outside of this recording was that like my goal was like pretty modest and pretty basic. I mean, like literally anybody, any of you listening to this episode could totally try to do the same goal I'm doing, because it's not like a crazy goal that I'm trying to
Mhm.
achieve. So
Yeah.
so I could be like your average person kind of person, example.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's all like I said, it's whatever makes you feel comfortable. Um, I just, for me, going based off of weight made me more stressed, and which is not good when you're trying to lose
Oh, yeah,
weight.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
So if you are like me and you don't want to, focus on the scale because not everything is scale based, like I said, especially if you are working out as well. There is an app that I am currently using now, which is called Me 360, and the 3 and 60 are spelled out. And what you do is you scan your body, you use your camera phone and you scan your body, it takes a picture of you facing front and then off to the side and it measures your body, so inches and whatever. And obviously it's not perfect, but it gives you a general idea because I was also using like a measuring tape. So it was actually pretty darn close for like my stuff, which made me happy. But it also measures your approximate body fat and your lean body mass. So out of your weight, how much is, your lean, your good body fat as opposed to your non good body fat. So
Right.
it is very informative. I'm going to do it once a week just to see how I do. And just kind of keep an eye on it, especially since like that's kind of what I'm using as my, you know, weight thing. So yeah. So if you are doing like me, that is an option. It's a very good app. Me 360. Right. So let's go into the different types of diets and then we can talk about what we've done. So I found a website. It says the 9 most popular weight loss diets that people do. They're not the like Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or anything like that. We'll go into that too, but these are just different types of diets that people do. So number one is the paleo diet, and it emphasizes on whole foods, lean proteins, vegetables, fruits, nuts, and seeds, and discourages processed foods, sugar, dairy, and grains. So some people kind of like the flexibility. I feel like this is kind of like the more common type of diet.
Right.
So some of the benefits are it is effective at reducing risk factors for heart disease, such as cholesterol, blood sugar, triglycerides, and blood pressure. The downside is that it eliminates whole grains and dairy, which are healthy and nutritious, because like dairy actually provides good fats that again your body needs to burn when you're active or whatever. So not all fats and carbs are bad for you people. I promise. You just have to
Mm.
learn how to get the proper amount without going too much. And there are things that you can do. So I can get into that too. Number two is the vegan diet, which I will never, ever, 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 ever do. I love my meat too much. It's considered the strictest form of vegetarianism. It eliminates meats, dairy, eggs, anything animal derived.
Right.
So that includes gelatin, honey, whey, like certain forms of vitamin D and things like that. I
Yep.
mean, hey, if you're for that, then more power to you. I can't do that. Plant-based diets are linked to reduce the risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and premature death, which hey, that's very always positive.
Right.
Limiting processed meat may also reduce your risk for Alzheimer's disease and dying from heart disease or cancer. So those are some pretty darn positives. However, downsides is that because they eliminate animal foods completely, they may be low in several nutrients, including vitamin B12, vitamin D, iodine, iron, calcium, zinc, and omega 3 fatty acids, which are very, very important for the human body. It helps with your brain function and things like that. So, There you go.
Yeah.
As good as the positives are, the negatives are pretty darn bad too.
Right, because if you were to go vegan, you would have to do a lot of research to figure out how to compensate for not getting enough of the nutrients that you would be getting from like animal sources.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean that's why like, a lot of the really good vegan dishes that I've come across will include like a lot of like beans and mushrooms and, certain types of vegetables, and also like things like tofu to um kind of compensate for like some of those nutrients, especially like protein and some of the vitamins that you mentioned.
Mhm.
Um oh yeah, and another negative thing that like you didn't mention, I guess like because it didn't come up in your list was the fact that technically certain foods that are bad for you are vegan. So just because you're on a vegan diet does not necessarily mean that everything you're eating is actually good for you.
True.
I mean when you think about it, like if you were to say do like I don't know, like vegetable tempura or something and you found a recipe for the batter where it definitely does not use like eggs or any such thing. It's still fried food. I mean, you can't change that,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But it's
And
vegan.
yeah. Right. Also, a lot of pastries, are technically vegan as well. I mean, like, especially if it doesn't have chocolate in it, because like chocolate uses like, milk,
Right.
especially like milk chocolate and things like that. So, a lot of those pastries will be technically, um, vegan, especially if you also don't include milk or dairy. But, those could be high in calories too
Yeah.
and extra sugar. So it's like, is it really healthy for you? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
It's the
Just because you
loopholes.
Yeah. It doesn't mean you can eat more carbs that don't have the animal based products in it. Speaking of, next one is a low carb diet, which would be like your keto type of thing. It emphasizes on limited amounts of protein and fat while completely limiting your carb intake, and basically turns the fatty acids into ketones. I have done this and I'll talk about that. Benefits: reduces your appetite, makes you feel less hungry, leading automatically to a reduction of calorie intakes. And it may benefit major disease risk factors such as blood triglycerides, cholesterol levels, blood sugar levels, insulin levels, and blood pressure. However, some people have an increase in what's called the bad or the LDL cholesterol because of what they're eating instead of the carbs. And in extreme rare cases, low carb diets can cause a serious condition called non diabetic ketoacidosis. And it seems to be more common in lactating women and can be fatal if left untreated. However, low carb diets are safe for a majority of people. I don't recommend doing it long term though.
Right.
Oh, and then you have the Atkins diet, which is basically like no carbs. But it's another low carb diet. For some reason
Right.
that was on here as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have your intermittent fasting, which I don't know how people do this, but they swear by it. Certain ways that you can do it. There's the 16-8 method, which involves skipping breakfast and restricting your daily eating period to 8 hours, subsequently fasting for the remaining 16 hours of the day. The eat, stop, eat method, which involves 24-hour fast once or twice per week on non consecutive days. 5-2 diet. On two non consecutive days of the week, you restrict your intake to 500 to 600 calories. You do not restrict intake on the 5 remaining days. And then the warrior diet, which is eat small amounts of raw fruits and vegetables during the day and one huge meal at night. Those are the different ways that you can do the intermittent fasting.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of funny. Um, I didn't realize this at the time, but looking back on it, I kind of realized that there was a period of time where I did accidentally actually do this intermittent fasting because um a few years like this was like back in like my early 20s, like my college years and stuff like that, like when you would end up staying up late at night and then you wake up really late the next morning unless you had to get up for a class or something. On the weekends, I would sleep in really late. Like, it was normal for me to, like, still not get out of bed until, like, almost 10 o'clock. So it's like, at that point, I didn't even bother really eating breakfast. Like, maybe I'll make myself a cup of coffee or something,
Hmm.
and then I just wait 2 hours for lunch, and then technically the only meals I ate all day that weekend was lunch and dinner. Which, as you were saying, like, one example of, like, an intermittent fasting was, like, basically skipping breakfast and just having 2 meals a day. So it's
Hmm.
like I accidentally was doing that without realizing it on the weekends.
Hey, what's crazy is that they say that the intermittent fasting is not as beneficial for women as it is for men. And again, this is what I was saying before with like BMI and stuff. Like women and men are built completely differently. First of all, women, a lot of our issues come from hormones. Um, and
Which sucks.
not that men don't deal, the whole hormone thing also, but it's different than with women. So, you know, sometimes this stuff doesn't work. And that's what I meant before by, experiment with a little bit of everything until you find the one thing that works. Because just because your boyfriend, husband, guy, friend, or whatever did this and lost like ridiculous amounts of weight doesn't mean that it's going to happen for you. And that could be very frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating, demoralizing.
Men lose weight a lot faster than women. It just always happens. Always
Yeah.
happens. But again, there is no perfect weight loss diet. You need to experiment. Which then brings us to what we have done. So go ahead. What have you done?
So what I'm actively doing, actually, I literally started this, like, right in the beginning of the new year, January 3rd, actually. Is the is Noom, actually, which some of you may have seen the commercials in the past few years, or if you've never heard of it. It's basically it's like this wellness and health program where they do have aspects of the nutrition and weight loss aspect to it. But the thing that makes them different from, say, Weight Watchers or Jenny Craig or any of those other dieting nutrition plans is that they actually introduce a lot of psychology into the program. So what I was doing was, okay, so there's the part of the program where, you do things like, oh, let's keep track of, how much exercise you're doing every day, also doing the food logging, which actually, regardless of what diet or non-diet you're doing, food logging is 100% a really good tool for you to use because for so many people, one of the reasons why they gain a lot of weight is because they just eat whatever the hell they want without thinking about the consequences. And it's like, well, if you're food logging, you're kind of forcing yourself to acknowledge in black and white what the hell I ate today. And also, part of the food logging will also, especially if you're using like apps and programs to do this, is that it will include things like calorie counts for the thing you just shoved down your throat at lunchtime today. And again, it forces you to look at actual numbers telling you, well, okay, if this like hamburger deluxe I'm eating is like 450 calories, well, I have to acknowledge I ate 450 calories today, for my lunch, things like that. But the other thing with Noom was that they also include some I guess like lessons they call it They're usually like 5 minutes or less per lesson, and some of them is just text only, but a lot of them, especially the earlier levels of the lessons, um, actually will include both audio and the text. So you have the choice of whether you want to listen to, one of their cast members, reading the lecture to you, which is convenient if you're like, one of those people who likes to jog or hike outdoors and, you want to listen to something while you're doing it. Or, or whatever. Or, if you want to actually read the lecture, you can read it. But, they'll cover like all these different topics. Like they'll cover nutrition topics, but they'll also actually do these lessons where they talk about things that are like more like affirmations, like, you can do this, we believe in you, and or things like, you may think that, by eating your hamburger for lunch today that you have fallen off the wagon, it's all a disaster, the world is ending. But no, this is just one thing that happened today. But tomorrow is another day to, do it again. So you don't have to feel like, oh, I did this one bad thing and oh my God, the world is falling apart. It's not. It's just one thing that happened to you today, and tomorrow is another chance to do better. And, so there's hope for you, which is the thing that always throws people off when they do diets or whatever, is that they think, oh no, I ate half of a pizza pie instead of, just the 2 slices that I said I would only eat. Don't guilt trip yourself into thinking like, I screwed up and it's all over. What is the point? Don't give up. Just pick up where you fell and keep on going. You will get there. And I've definitely had a couple of days, especially like, with people's birthday parties, and because, we're still in the winter months, there have been like some celebrations happening where I probably did eat more than I should have for those reasons, but I just kept at it. And so far I have lost, I've kept off is actually the better term, because you could lose a couple pounds here and there, but what really matters is, did you keep it off,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but so far I've kept off 7 pounds since I started Noom, which I am very happy about, because that is 7 pounds that I didn't think I could do before.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
I mean, like, yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, I really like Noom. It was a struggle at first, because the stupid thing was that I started Noom after I had already done grocery shopping for the week, which is a problem, because if you started Noom before, your upcoming, grocery shopping trip for the week, you could give yourself a little bit of time to plan out, okay, I'm going to change, like what I eat for breakfast, starting now. So because I'm going to go shopping for my groceries tomorrow, I can work out, well, okay, let me figure out what is a healthier breakfast I'm going to start eating. Things like that. But, after like the first week or so, once I got over that annoyance that like whatever I have in the house is what I had in the house, I started making the changes of like what I was eating, and, I started losing a pound here and there. And then to my shock, I actually kept it off, and then I started losing more and more and more, and I actually started keeping it off. And yeah, I'm happy, and I'm getting closer to my goal, which is to lose 10 pounds.
That's cool. That's
So,
awesome. Yay.
yeah.
That's so I've tried various different, I've done the Weight Watchers, I've done Jenny Craig, I've done Nutrisystem, I've done keto, and then, Weight Watchers and keto are probably the two that I did the best on. And again, that was without doing any physical activity other than like, walking. Um, So, now that I'm doing the more physical aspect, my big thing is making sure, especially on the days that I'm working out, I have plenty of protein so that I don't, feel like gross um, during my workout. I have cut my carb intake. I haven't gone back to full keto, but I'm trying to eliminate a lot of those, bad carbs, those, a lot of the pastas and the, white bread and, things like that. And a lot of starches as well. I'm trying not to have too many starches. So, like white potatoes or corn or things like that every once in a while, but just trying to alleviate that. I also, unfortunately, because I love it, I have to cut my salt intake because I have discovered that I retain a lot of water. And probably because I just have so much salt. I eat salt with pretty much every meal. I love salt. So that is an unfortunate event that I have to cut back on. But yeah,
Right.
I'm a very high protein, high fat, lower carb diet and or plan, I should say, because it's not really a diet. So, but again, I allow myself to indulge. I have indulged a little bit too much recently. It's something that I am now going to force myself to cut back. My issue is on the days that I work from home, which I think more people actually find that weird because if I'm home, why can't I just, eat the healthier food? And it's just my family just doesn't make it easy. So that's I have to start keeping food off to the side just for myself for those days. But like the days that like I actually go into like my office and I have like a schedule, it is definitely a lot easier for me to keep up. When I'm home, I'm so engrossed in work that I don't eat enough. And
Right.
and it kind of started with Weight Watchers, but especially now that I'm working out, like I have to eat tiny little meals throughout the day, not just like 3 big meals or whatever. I may do like 1 big meal a day, but like I need to eat something a couple of times, at least 6 times, 5 to 6 times a day. So whether it's, in between breakfast and lunch is, some cashews or, something like that. And then in between like lunch and dinner would be Greek yogurt and, just something to constantly keep my metabolism going. I have tried to do like the not eat breakfast in the morning in the past, and my body is just so used to it, and I want to kickstart my metabolism right off the bat. So even like on weekends, I eat within the first hour of waking up just to get that metabolism started. My
Right.
thing is to keep it going throughout the day. That's my
Yeah.
biggest thing. So
Mhm.
that's kind of like what I'm doing now, and I kind of take little things of what I learned from each of the different diets. I'm not following like an actual plan right now. It's kind of me just experimenting to see what works and what doesn't, and kind of going from there. Talking to my personal trainer, seeing what he says, and his thing, I think for me is more of cutting the salt intake, which is just the saddest thing I've ever heard. So yeah,
Mm.
that's that's what I'm doing right now. But again, like as I mentioned at the beginning, I'm either full blown nutrition or full blown fitness. And since I started this challenge, I've been focused more on the fitness aspect than the nutrition aspect. So now that I've gotten to the point where the fitness has become second nature, I can now start focusing more on the nutrition and getting that, you know, up to the same as the fitness. And then, in the next couple of weeks or months or whatever, I should be good to go and I'll start losing inches like crazy. But like I said, I just had my 90 days yesterday and my waist, I lost 5 inches in 3 months. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yay.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. I mean, yes, always would love to do more. I think everyone would, no one's perfectly happy, but not too shabby. I was happy with that.
Yeah.
So going off of that, can talk a little bit about fitness before we close out. I know you've mentioned you don't do a lot of fitness.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I'm like most people where probably the most strenuous thing I do is like I'm walking 2 or 3 miles every day, or at least the equivalent if I'm working from home and like I'm not going outside. But if I live in a house, so if I'm going up and down the stairs, I'm pacing around, I'm doing household chores, over the course of a day, you do end up walking actually about 2 or 3 miles, depending on what you're doing exactly. But,
Right.
I mean, so like for most people, that's probably what they typically do, and that's perfectly fine. If anything, it's actually something we all could do more of because it is such a simple, basic form of exercise that literally anyone can do. There's no special equipment involved.
Yeah.
You, you can always there's always a way to squeeze in 5 minutes to get up off your butt and just walk around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, as I mentioned, I just started a year-long challenge with my personal trainer, who's actually a friend of mine. It's not through a gym. This is his own thing. So like I go to his house and stuff like that. I actually started working out with him in 2019, the fall of 2019, and we just did maybe 1 to 2 times a week with my work schedule and everything. That was really the only thing that I could do. Obviously, the pandemic kind of put a hold on everything, so I didn't work out for most of 2020, but got back into it. And then my schedule kind of cleared up after the fall of 2021, and he and I came up with this challenge where the goal is to try and get up to like 5 to 6 times a week working out. I don't know if I can do the 6 days just because of my schedule. I just don't, but we'll see. It's an hour workout. Right now I'm up to 4 times a week. And I do a lot of weight-based training, but we do a little bit of everything. We do the cardio, we do the stretching, and then obviously the weight-based. So if you don't know the proper body mechanics for a lot of the exercises, even something as simple as a squat or a lunge or whatever, and if you're working with certain pieces of equipment, I'm not saying to necessarily get a personal trainer. I know that they're expensive and I know not everyone can afford it. I couldn't. It was only that I made this deal with my trainer, who again just happened to be a friend of mine. So, I know the expense is there, and but at the same time, you do not want to get hurt, because even people being trained can get an injury. You just do something, you twist the wrong way or whatever. Injuries happen, unfortunately, when you're working out. It just, it can happen regardless. But you really want to just make sure that you're doing things properly. So if you don't necessarily want to get a personal trainer, which again is perfectly fine, see if you could find somebody who just knows what they're doing and have them, make sure that you're doing things the right way, especially when it comes to weight. You don't want to push yourself too hard to where you're, adding weight onto you while you're doing certain things. And then that's how you get hurt. That's how you tear muscles. That's how you injure your back. I work in the healthcare system and deal a lot with spine injuries and stuff like that. So, and I myself had one. I had back surgery almost 10 years ago, not exercise related, but even still. So, you really just want to make sure body mechanics is so important. Making sure you're doing these exercises correctly is so important. So that's my advice to anybody who's just starting off, is don't just go in there blind and, you see these people at the gym who are doing certain things and you just, go out there and start doing it, you're going to get hurt. So that's why I actually went to a trainer, because I have my back injury. The last thing I want to do is injure it further and need more back surgery. So I wanted to make sure that anything that I did, I had someone who knew what they were doing. And it is paying off. Now, again, you can still get hurt. Like we had a couple weeks where my back flared up, it was more muscular. It wasn't like my actual spine, but I don't play when it comes to my back. So you have to also listen to your body. When your body's telling you no, it means to stop and to rest. You should work different parts of your body out at a time. Yes, like tonight, my workout tonight, we did a full body and we worked on, all different parts of the body. But, yesterday I worked on the pushing motion. So I did a lot of bench presses. I did, rows. I did, all different things. Same thing, or no, I'm sorry. I did pulling. So I did deadlifts. I did rows. I did things like that. When I'm doing the pushing motion, I do bench presses. Obviously, legs, we do a lot of squats and things like that. So you want to work different parts of your body out at different times so that while you're on to the next body part, the body part that you had previously worked on, it's a chance to heal. If you're constantly just doing full body workouts every single time, you're never going to allow your muscles to heal. So it's a little something for you. Fun fact, which it's not really fun, but starting after the age of 30, people can lose 3 to 5% of their muscle mass per decade.
Joy.
So yeah. Woohoo. So yeah, I'm not telling everyone to go out there and just start like, bench pressing, but strength training and a cardio routine can, just help keep your muscles adequate, I'll say.
Right.
If you find it boring or things like that, music is great.
Yeah.
They say working out in a group can improve athletic performance as opposed to working out alone. I personally prefer working out alone. I know a lot of people that kind of feel that way, especially when they're self-conscious like me. Um, so that's me. But
Yeah, although like you what you were mentioning before about, uh get like having somebody to help you out with like making sure you're doing stuff right. I would imagine that if you were going to do like weight training precisely because of the potential for injury is like well, okay. I mean, any kind of exercise there is potential for injury, but it's like I would imagine weight lifting and all that would be arguably the most dangerous actually for injury potential.
mhm,
So I would imagine when you're doing, weightlifting, like at least those days where you're doing it, you would want to have like a buddy or somebody working out with you to make sure like you're not gonna lift up things that are heavier than what you are really capable of doing.
yeah,
That sort of thing.
yeah, no, absolutely. So cardio, there's a lot of people that only do cardio. Too much cardio can actually prevent fat loss. Like if you're trying to lose weight and all you do is go on the elliptical and that's the only workout that you're doing, initially you may be fine. However, it causes your body to adapt to that routine and it's actually stops the weight loss process. Where if you do cardio and then another type of exercise, you're constantly putting your body through that shock of changing and that's how, you start losing weight.
Right.
Um, it can take up to 12 weeks for the workout to start working. So when you start working out, you may not see results immediately. In fact, you most likely will not see results immediately. It can take up to 12 weeks, so between 3 to 4 months of consistently working out to start seeing either the weight loss or the inches or whatever. So if you are, working out and it's only been a couple weeks or whatever, give yourself some time. Don't freak out. You'll eventually start seeing the results as you go along. Because again, your body goes into shock. So when your body goes into shock, it tries to fix itself. So you have to get your body almost not used to it because I know I just said like in cardio, like if it gets used to it, whatever, but like it needs to get into like that grind with you to be like, okay, this is our new thing. Got it. All right, let's start going. Like, so yeah, that's some facts about fitness.
Yep.
Again, I'm not a professional in terms of nutrition or fitness. I'm just spreading what I know from either personal experience and or being told from, people who have experience or knowledge. So, wanting to kind of share along, with our journeys and things like that. We don't pretend to be, professionals that are telling you you need to do this, this, and this. It's trying to spread the word. Obviously, the healthier you are, better. It is what it is, but at the same time, you want to be comfortable in your body. You want to be healthier, make sure that your heart is healthy and things like that. So these are different things that can help. But the main thing is, learning what works for you because not everyone is the same. What works for somebody may not work for you. So trial and error is your best friend, as annoying as it is. That's my biggest suggestion is trial and error. Try different diets until you find the one that you notice actually helps. Um, working out, either find a group of friends, do, different things, find a personal trainer, find someone who just has some knowledge to help you out and see what you like. When I first worked out, I was more into like the kickboxing, that type of thing. And then we started doing the weightlifting stuff and I love it. I love the weightlifting stuff. Hate cardio. Still do it because it's important, but I hate it. I absolutely despise it. And my trainer laughs at me because he knows, but you're going to find something that you like and just, and then working out won't be so bad. I'm telling you, I was one of those people that hated it. And now I actually enjoy working out. So that's all I can say.
Right. And I guess like before we sign off, I guess if you guys listening to this are also are like in a situation where you haven't been doing anything, but you've been thinking about it, just know that you don't have to run headlong into, oh, I must do, all these exercises like 5 times a week and I must, go on a keto diet or whatever. It's, you just start off with a couple of changes here and there. And over time, as you add more and more changes, you will start getting some kind of a result. And if you don't see a result, then well, clearly something you're doing is not working. So you may want to rethink what you're doing and maybe try something else. But don't ever feel like this is an impossible thing that like I must do all these drastic changes. It doesn't have to be drastic. It's just a matter of you start introducing one thing and then maybe next week you add in another thing. If you go at like a pace like that, maybe that would end up really changing things up for you. And also, don't think that you can suddenly lose 20 pounds in like, I don't know, the next 4 months and then you can just go back to the way it was before. No, you have to figure out what changes are reasonable changes that you can consistently do. And that is what you're going to do going forward for the rest of your life. That's the real secret to, if your goal was, I want to drop 50 pounds, then you know what? You're never going to lose that 50 pounds you want to lose if you don't make changes that you can reasonably do for the rest of your life, So don't think that, well, okay, I want to go on a keto diet. It's going to make me lose weight. Well, it may help you lose weight, but can you honestly say you can stick with a keto diet like the rest of your life?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things you have to think about. Okay, so before we close out, as usual, we have an email address where you can send us questions, comments, criticisms on how to improve our show, you can email us at threefatesdecide@gmail.com. It's the title of our podcast, all in one word, and the 3 is spelled out.
And you can also reach us on Instagram at Three Fates Decide. The 3 is spelled out. And feel free to send us DMs.
Let us know what you think. We love feedback.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Catch us next time.
And see what we're going to talk about.
Because the 3 Fates decide.